So then, if what Bacon's book states is true, then perhaps the founding of America was part of a process in creating a home base for a world government system. It certainly seems that this could indeed be the truth. Perhaps the Freemasons are trying everything in their power to ensure that this New World Order happens. It would certainly seem that they have infiltrated government systems all over the world already, so this couldn't be far from the truth.
What I'm going to talk to you about today comes from my heart, from my experience in life, from playing this role as messenger, which I take very seriously, from my efforts to wake up the American people, from my family, from all the letters that I get, people that I talk to, just like I've talked to many of you here today. I've learned some things, and I think these things need to be passed on to you. And I think you need to start examining yourself, your agenda, your mission. Who are you? What are you about? What do you believe about America? Is it true? Are you helping to divide us more? Or are you helping to bring us together? Do you really understand what this country is all about?
This title is from the book of Revelations, because I have to tell you this, and you may think I'm nuts if you want to, but this is the truth. Either these men are following the book of Revelation, the book of Revelation as it is in the Bible. They're either following it, just like a plan, and bringing the prophecies in there to pass to manipulate and control those who believe in those prophecies and neutralize them, so to speak. In other words, if this is written in the Bible and God has ordained it, who am I to resist? It must come to pass, so I'm not going to try to stop it. What a perfect way to neutralize the opposition right off the bat. Or there really is a God, and what he said was going to come to pass is coming to pass. And I named this, Behold a Pale Horse, from chapter 13 of the book of Revelations. The fourth horseman of the apocalypse is the pale horse. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. And that is taking place now today. The fourth horseman is riding across the world now. That's what AIDS is all about. That's what all these little brush fire wars all over the world are all about. That's what's happening. That's why cancer cures are suppressed.
Behold, a pale horse. This is the horse which graces the front of the Denver airport. A pale horse, no doubt, with battle scars all over its body and glowing red demonic eyes. And now a very important question comes to mind. Why would they be creating bunkers connected by underground tunnels to the Denver airport? And why is there so much evidence of a plan developed by the Freemasons contained at this particular airport? Could something truly devastating be planned for this upcoming September 11th? Why is there a giant statue of the fourth horse of the apocalypse at the Denver airport? Due to everything we've just discussed, one can certainly not blame or ridicule someone for thinking like this. Perhaps we can find more evidence or clues contained in the imagery of the murals painted at the Denver airport. Let's take a look.
Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the Third Eagle of the Apocalypse and the Co-Prophet of the End Times. This is part one of a two-part series on the amazing murals at the Denver International Airport. As you know, in the Bible, God says he does nothing except he reveals what he will do through his prophets. And I believe Satan imitates God and does the same thing. He also reveals what he is planning to do through his prophets. And I believe the murals at the Denver International Airport are a prophecy from Satan of the New World Order and of the reign of the Antichrist. Let's take a first look at the official logo of the Denver International Airport. Let me give you a close-up view of this logo. It's interesting that when you turn this logo upside down, you get the number of the Antichrist. The first mural I want to take a look at is by artist Leo Tanguma, and it shows a stormtrooper with a gas mask and a submachine gun in one hand, a sword in the other hand, with which he is thrusting through the white dove of peace. Let's take a closer look at this particular mural. Now the stormtrooper in this painting wears a gas mask, so you really cannot tell his identity. But this sword is a particular type of sword, that is an Arabian sword. And this dove really does not look much like a dove. I think it is more a symbol. But what is really amazing about this painting is this rainbow and the streak that it becomes. What this is showing you is the swath that this sword has just cut through the sky. And you will notice that this sword is not just thrusting the bird, but it has also cut these two buildings, this first one and the second one. Is this a prophecy of 9/11? If you look over here, you will see a lot of women going back through infinity who are weeping over their dead babies. In fact, in all the murals at the Denver International Airport, there is a great deal of death and suffering and war images. Over here, these children look as if they are asleep, but they are sleeping outdoors, and they certainly seem to be orphans because there are no parents around. Now a close-up of this first building especially looks like the World Trade Center. And remember, this painting was completed in 1994 before the airport opened in 1995. In other words, at least 7 years before the World Trade Center bombing. Now this next mural by a different artist also shows guns and death. Each of the three figures in this mural are carrying guns. Up here we see the image of a dead man, and actually these hills in the background form the image of a dead man. Let's take a look at this painting close up, except on its side. I'm not sure how readily apparent this figure is, but if you can see his forehead, his eyes, his nose, his mouth, his chin, and this would be the outline of his shoulders. This next mural has even more amazing hidden images in it. At first glance, it seems like an Indian worshiping a tree, typical environmental type mural. It has a moon, or is that the moon? Maybe that's the all-seeing eye. Down here we have a skull, more signs of death and destruction in these murals. And over here we have what I call the doors to eternity. Let's take a closer look at this particular mural. Now the most amazing part of this mural is the guillotine. Now you say you don't see the guillotine? Well, take a look at this blade. If that isn't a guillotine, I will eat my Wheaties. Notice immediately below the guillotine is a butterfly. Now this is not just any butterfly, this is a monarch butterfly. I believe that refers to King Louis XVI, who was beheaded during the French Revolution. Now below the guillotine we see a lot of pond scum. Or is this blood and guts? These are not stones here as they first appear to be. If you take a closer look at these, you will see that these are body parts. Let me zoom in on this part of this amazing mural. Now in front of my finger you will see a hand. A little farther over you'll see somebody's butt. Up here you'll see a leg. And if you look carefully throughout this pond scum, which is actually blood and guts, you will see many more images of faces and body parts. Now I suggested at the beginning that these images from the Denver International Airport are warnings from Satan of what he is going to do to humanity. But is it possible that these artists are not at fault? Maybe they are not working for Satan. Maybe this artist is giving us a warning about the New World Order, but he can't tell it straightforward. He couldn't give a painting of the apocalypse in the Denver airport, so therefore he puts it under hidden symbolism. It's very possible that this artist is a true prophet, and he is warning all of us that the tribulation is just about upon us. Let's review the first two of these prophetic murals, which we already discussed in part 1. Now I believe this first image was a prophecy of 9/11. Here we see a stormtrooper carrying an Arabian sword, which he kills the white dove of peace. And in the process he destroys 2 buildings. Let's take a closer look. Now the amazing part of this image is this swath which the sword cuts through the sky, and which is indicated by this stream across the back. Notice that this curve on this destroyed building fits this swath, as does the curve on this destroyed building. Now this Arabian sword, which clearly indicates the Muslim attacks of 9/11, destroys the white dove of peace. And certainly, since 9/11, the United States has been at war continuously since then. Now according to my sources on the internet, the mural of the paratrooper with the Arabian sword has been painted over because it was too gruesome to look at for the airport travelers. However, the next mural is equally offensive, and this one has not been painted over. This one shows a guillotine. Now this image actually shows a tent, and the guillotine blade is actually hidden in the painting. Below the guillotine blade is a butterfly, a monarch butterfly, which signifies King Louis XVI, who was beheaded during the French Revolution. And below the guillotine are these body parts, which are camouflaged as stones in the water. Now, as we know from the book of Revelation, those who refuse the mark of the beast will be beheaded. But those, like the Indian, who are willing to take the mark of the beast, will not be executed. So my theory is that the first gruesome mural was painted over, not because it offended the air travelers, but because the prophecy of the World Trade Centers being cut down by an Arabian sword has already been fulfilled. Whereas the image of the guillotine decapitating Christians during the Great Tribulation has not yet occurred. Now let's take a look at another of these huge murals at the Denver International Airport. In this photograph of this huge mural, you can see the lighting overhead, you can see the brass railing in front of the image, and the marble flooring beneath this mural. Now here you can get an idea of the size and scope of this next mural, but according to the web, this painting has also been painted over. Now, this seems strange because all the images in here are very happy children. Why would this be painted over? I think the reason is because this prophecy has also already occurred. And what is this prophecy? If we look up here, we will see a leopard overlooking this whole scene. I believe this signifies Barack Obama being elected president. That's why he has this position of authority over all these individuals. Let's take a closer look at this particular mural. Now right in the center of this mural we see what looks like a Mayan girl presiding over some kind of a takeoff of a Catholic Mass, because this looks like an altar. But instead of a chalice we have a plant, a multicolored plant. Notice that this presider at this ritual has a halo around her head. But even more importantly, let's take a look at this leopard who is overlooking the entire scene. So why do I say that this leopard indicates Barack Obama? Well, first of course is the position of authority over all the other individuals in this mural. As we know from Bible prophecy, in the book of Daniel chapter 7, the leopard indicates Barack Obama. But I believe the clincher are these 2 cubs beside the leopard. I believe these 2 cubs indicate the daughters of Barack Obama. Now, according to sources on the internet, the leopard obviously looks like a leopard, but the faces of the 2 cubs look like children. In fact, they say that they were originally photographs of children, and they still look very human-like. I believe these two cubs are in this painting to verify that this leader, this world leader who sits atop everyone else in this painting, can only refer to Barack Obama.